Good day to everyone. Today we're going to talk about the future of CPF, and this is a topic suggested by the YouTube algorithm. All right, so I hope that there would be some participation over the material that has been presented in today's video. First of all, let's talk about our motivation to predict the future of CPF. As most of our home equity, our wealth is tied to home equity, the CPF is for most Singaporeans a secondary source of their wealth. So it's very useful to think about the future of CPF so that even if this version of our future does not pan out, it would give us a certain idea of how to pivot and how to adjust when the situation changes. And you will notice that for today's analysis, I'll be using a very Marxist approach of dialectical materialism to predict the future. So we will look at what policymakers would desire, what their objective is, and we would then look at the consequences of making these adjustments. All right. In this case, we do our best not to imply a particular ideology amongst government policymakers. So this way, we can have a clearer idea of what's going to happen to CPF in the future. First, let's talk about CPF rates. Our ordinary account rate is currently 2.5%, and our special account rate is about 4%. Right. Our ordinary account rate is tied to bank deposits, as they will stay very low for a very long time. We expect this 2.5% to be around for the next 20 to 30 years. No change. Right. For the CPF special account rate, the 10-year government bond is going to be maybe 2 to 3% over the next 30 to 40 years. So I would expect that you're going to see 4% for a very, very long time. So no changes there, nothing surprising. The question is whether the floor of 4% is going to be amended to become something that floats, like tied to a 10-year bond plus 1%. And they've had discussions of this nature since the Goh Chok Tong regime. I believe this is unlikely to happen because the political cost is going to be too high to the policymaker as well as to the prevailing government that makes that decision then. So I do not think that we're going to see a lot of surprises to the CPF rates. So I think that's good news. Next, let's talk a little bit about the CPF wage ceiling. Currently, we have a monthly wage ceiling at about $8,000 a month, which is regularly raised to ensure that employees contribute more over time. Okay, and I do expect this monthly wage ceiling to keep going up, right, given the current momentum. However, something very interesting happens, right? For the annual contribution, that's been capped at $102,000 for a very long time, and the number has not gone up. So if this goes up, there will be problems because it will raise the multinationals and their burden because they have to match a larger number for their more senior and middle income employees. So we might end up chasing these investors away. So I think that would be a natural cap to the monthly wage ceiling that's being raised. So I expect this annual wage ceiling to go up once monthly wage ceiling goes up to 8,500. Then the annual wage ceiling needs to go up correspondingly. I don't expect this annual wage ceiling to go up by a lot because Singapore is competing against many other countries. So we cannot really afford to chase the businesses away. So for the folks who think that as your salary goes up, you will be able to put more and more money into your CPF, you're likely going to be disappointed because this would actually make Singapore less competitive, right? Okay, let's talk next about the full retirement sum and the MediSave basic healthcare sum. The full retirement sum is the amount that the CPF board will maintain when you hit 55 years old. The rest of the money can be returned to you in the form of cash. All right. So this full retirement sum is raised by 4% annually, sometimes higher than wage increases. All right. So the good thing is that if you can reach your full retirement sum at an earlier stage in your life, I think I reached mine before I reached 30 years old. All right. Future returns will offset future raises. Okay, because it gives you 4% every year. If they raise it by 4%, you're good to go. All right. I don't expect this to change. Now, the big problem for a lot of people is the Medisave basic healthcare sum. And this is $75,500 in 2025. And this is the amount of money that your Medisave account can contain, right? Any amount that overflows will go back to your special account or your ordinary account. The problem is that this number goes up faster than 4% every year because medical inflation is very high. So you find that we are always looking for money to keep up. Either you carry on and you remain employed. And for people in the FIRE movement, this is one of our big headaches. I do supplement it by dividend income. But if I were to do that, I need to do a little bit of part-time work because there are tax benefits that come with it. So in that sense, it keeps people in the FIRE movement engaged in the jobs market. And this is a number that needs to be followed every year because medical inflation, generally, it's very, very high. Okay, so you cannot expect this to be within 4 to 5% over the number of years. As it becomes more and more expensive to R&D all these treatments, you will find that the basic healthcare sum would also rise to become an astronomical number in the future. All right, do take note that this is money that you can spend. All right, when my mom had a stroke and she got hospitalized, they took money from my basic healthcare sum first, my Medisave account, and then after that, I replenished it with cash because this is something which the sandwich generation would definitely need. Okay, so please don't ignore this Medisave account. I know if you're young, you feel invincible, but this is money that's very important. And finally, I've left the big bombshell to the last part of my presentation. The CPF life payout has to decline relative to your living expenses at age 65. All right, this is a reality that is very, very hard to accept, but it has to be true. Okay, because CPF life mitigates longevity risk. Therefore, the payouts will adjust based on the overall lifespan of Singaporeans. So if our government is actually successful in keeping us alive longer, then logically, the CPF life payouts need to be adjusted to adjust for Singaporeans living to maybe age 88 to 90. Okay, so this is something that you have to accept. As each cohort lives longer, you will find out that CPF life pays less, okay, because they're paying for you for a longer time. So I would expect Gen X to get a decent payout, and then Gen Y would get payouts that are slightly less. Generation Alpha that might see a cure for cancer would get significantly less. All right, do note that a cure for cancer is expected to raise everyone's lifespan by 3 years. We should be quite close, right? With immunotherapy, right? Cure for cancer should not be too far away. All right. Now, of course, there are alternatives. One alternative is for the policymaker to say that, instead of giving you your CPF life payout at age 65, we will postpone it by 3 years to 68. Okay. Now, once again, if the government were to do that, there will be a political cost, right? People might not be so willing to vote for ruling government. They might punish the policymaker. So this is not something that can be done. It's like increasing someone's GST, right? I'm delaying the time where you can take your hard-earned money out. So this is something that I predict probably wouldn't happen for a while, right? Unless you have a very innovative government that's willing to sacrifice political capital. I think it's probably easier to just quietly reduce the payouts, and you're just buying these annuities at a higher cost. Okay, so with that, I've almost come to the end of my presentation. Always remember that if you decide to put your money into CPF, you are actually subjecting yourself to policy risk. So I'm not aligned with the same goals as, for example, the 1M65 plan. Okay, in fact, there is no more CPF special account after age 55. So 1M65, I think, is as good as dead. Okay, but deep respect to the person that came out with the movement. I think is doing a lot of good. Okay, but this is the policy risk that you have to consider. And if you are not really willing to be able to accept a future like this, then you have to secure more money in your full retirement sum. Okay. And for people who are PMATs, middle income groups, you might have to participate in financial markets to create a sustainable retirement plan. Is what I tell my students. You should balance off your CPF life with dividends coming in from a different source. So combined together, they can give you a comfortable retirement. And if all else fails, the possibility of retirement homes outside Singapore and Joe arbitrage simply cannot be ignored, all right? Because the cost of living here is very high. You really do have to consider moving overseas in order to have a comfortable retirement. And that's all I have for today. How can you help me? If you like my content, subscribe to my channel. Otherwise, you can buy me a coffee. If you want to listen to my life story, figure out how the FIRE movement works, then sign up for my course preview at the link here. Alternatively, Google ERM intro. Take the first link. All right. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next video. Goodbye.